and I'm here today with Susan Kellner. We are both on the board of Texans Advocating for Meaningful Student Assessment, emphasis on the meaningful, TAMSA. And we are a grassroots statewide group of parents who formed predominantly because we had kids affected by the system right now that are in the system. I have a 10th grade daughter. And I want to give a feeling, how many of you here tonight have elementary school age children? Okay. And then how about high school? Okay, that's a good split. Well, the STAR system is a system that went into effect starting with last year's 9th graders and last year's 3rd graders. And it affects kids on both levels. Okay, so
sorry.
Go by this lecture. Well, this is just really pointing out that we have members of TAMSA throughout the state. This is actually a little bit antiquated. We need to replace that now with a statewide map that has the state pretty much colored in. But we have members all over the state who are working with us, advocating with us, talking to legislative members, working with their school boards and so forth. And as parents, we strongly support accountability. Some of the pushback we hear is, oh, you just don't want your kids tested. Absolutely not. We're not opposed to testing. We want that testing to be meaningful and sensible, which we disagree the current STAR system is. The current STAR system is just broken and punitive to students. We want to see a system that's more diagnostic and helps our students to improve. And we're going to just zip through these next few slides. Basically, as most of you know, we have had at least 5 different testing systems in Texas over the last 20 years. And they have continually increased, not just in rigor, but in the high stakes that are associated with our kids. And that's where we have really gotten off track in Texas. We have examples here, I don't know, maybe if everyone, of different questions over the years of the different tests and how they increase both in rigor, but most importantly in accountability of the children. And our judgment, it should be the state who is accountable to us as taxpayers, or the schools who are accountable to us as parents, but it's not the students who are accountable. They don't have control over what they are being taught or whether these tests correlate with what they're being taught. So this is a sample of an Algebra 2 end of course exam, which scares me to death because my daughter is taking that in about 2 months. But for the most part, in elementary school today, if you have a child in elementary school, in order to successfully complete all of the requirements, they're going to have to take 17 separate tests under the STAR EOC. And frankly, we believe, especially with young children, that that's just so vastly excessive. Because when you have these tests, what's happening is our teachers, in the best interest of the children, trying to help these kids succeed and move on, you end up narrowing your curriculum, looking at what's on that test, focusing on what's on the test, and you miss the opportunities to have a deeply enriched curriculum. You miss the opportunities to do a play, do a Shakespearean play, or have a great lab, or wonderful art project or something, because you're having to spend so much time focusing on getting this test through. With respect to the high school level, TAMSA has disputes really with 4 main aspects of the EOCs, and that is, number 1, that there are 15 tests required to graduate currently, and students have to take and pass all 15 tests in designated subject areas. These are the 15. And this may not be consistent with where your student is. I mean, some students are strong in science and math and love Algebra 2 and physics. Others have strengths elsewhere, and we want to identify and enjoy and relish every one of those, celebrate every one of those strengths. The other area that we have a dispute is that currently the law requires that each of these STAR EOC exams in high school count as 15% of a child's final grade. There was a waiver last year, and there's been a waiver this year, largely because parents have spoken out about this. But unless there's a change this year, the 15% will have to go back into effect. We're optimistic there's going to be a change, but we can't let up. It's not over until it's over, is what we keep saying. And the problem with that is because if there's an inclusion of standardized test scores in grades, that disadvantages Texas students vis-a-vis other students around the country when they're competing for colleges, with their GPAs and everything else. We get the argument that students need skin in the game, and that's the one that personally makes me a little bit crazy. And what we say to that is we need to change this dialogue. Education's not a game. Our students are not, our children are not pawns in a game to win or lose by taking tests. They're not game show contestants. And they have ample skin in the game. I hate that phrase, but they have more than enough interest in succeeding. I mean, that's, I think, everyone's natural drive in any event. Then there's also a very complicated requirement about cumulative score. High school students need to make not only a minimum passing level in each of the tests, but they have to have a cumulative score in each of the 4 subject areas to graduate as well. And then finally, there's a pretty wacky requirement, in my judgment, that in order to be admitted to a Texas 4-year university, you have to graduate on a recommended plan. To do that under the current law, you have to make a certain level on Algebra 3, English 3 and Algebra 2. They're sort of the gateway courses. And so you can rank very high, be a strong student, and if you don't do sufficiently well in those classes, you can't qualify to get into a Texas college. You can go to Harvard, you can go to Stanford, so that's also, we have assurances that that too is going to be addressed, but again, these things are not corrected until they're corrected. And so in the Texas Legislature, it's very difficult to pass a bill, it's easy to kill a bill. So we need to all work together to make these changes, or else we're going to be stuck with the bad system that we have.
So now we're going to make the case to you all. She kind of went briefly over the things that are important, but after now almost 2 decades of nonstop testing, the parents have started to sort of say, wait, what are we doing? As well as employers and taxpayers. And I think it's time to check return on investment. It's time to hold them accountable for these tests. Because we've been told all along that these tests are going to make our kids more college and career ready, they're going to show rigor, they're going to be showing high accountability. So I think the time has come, and all of a sudden we're hearing this from, we are giving talks across the state, and it's really bubbling up. 3 important questions. How much money has this cost us? Are our students, in fact, more college and career ready? And then when our kids get into college, how are they doing in college? Because these tests have done such a great job of telling us how our kids are prepared. Are they truly succeeding when they get to college? So the first question, we started looking into how much have we spent on these tests. Nobody really knows. You know, your child goes to school, you take the test, you don't really know how much this stuff costs. So actually at Rice University, one of the professors there put this together for us. And Pearson is a single vendor that has the contract, and they've had it since 2000. And they have the contract through 2015. And over the years, over 15 years, Texas has spent $1.2 billion on these tests. And that is just on the tests, on the physical tests themselves, designing them, setting them out to school districts. I don't know about Louisville, but I know in Spring Branch, I guess I should introduce myself, sorry. I'm Susan Kellner, and I was a trustee in Spring Branch ISD for 9 years. I retired a year ago in May, and I also have 4 children. I have a freshman in college, a son in college, and then I have an 11th grader, an 8th grader, and a 6th grader. So when I'm talking to you tonight, I'm talking to you as a parent, but I'm also talking to you as a former leader of a school system that was spending this money and looking at all this and sort of the lessons learned through that, both as a parent and as a leader in the system. So one of the things is, as I was looking at this, I was thinking, 1.2 billion, what does that mean to us in real dollars? That equates to $2 spent every second of every day on tests. So if you think $2, $2. In Spring Branch, for a hungry child, we feed them lunch for $1.30. So for $2, we could be feeding a hungry child, $2 every second. 2 years ago, we had cuts in Spring Branch because of the $5.4 billion cut. We had to eliminate 350 positions in our district. Not because they were poor performing, simply because we got a pay cut. We had to get rid of teachers because how we made a lot of that money up is we increased our class size, particularly in elementary. So we had to cut a lot of teachers. This equates to $50,400 every 7 hours, 24 hours in a day. That's 3 teachers plus every single day, or 1,277 teachers per year, every year, that we could be spending on teachers in the classroom, but we're spending it on these tests. In addition, Pearson is the vendor, as I mentioned. They have all of a sudden, we kind of take these tests that at face value, they've got to be infallible, surely they're strong tests, right? Pearson has had major quality control issues, so we want to encourage you not to just trust that it's a test. You don't get the test back. You never get to see the test. So recently, actually, in Texas, December 3rd of this past year, we had students that were retaking English Writing 1. They had already failed it. This is their second time taking it. Some it might have been their third time taking it. And they had these students sit down at the computer terminals for an hour and a half waiting for Pearson to load the test. Pearson was never able to load the test. After an hour and a half, these kids were told to go back to class and then we'll try again maybe tomorrow. These are kids that if they don't pass this test, they're not graduating from high school. They're extremely stressed about that. You can imagine the night before, these kids are worried. And they come in and they sit at a computer terminal for an hour and a half and then are told, sorry, we couldn't load the test. I mean, there are situations like that going on. In Mississippi of this last year, due to Pearson's inaccurate grading, 126 kids on their high school graduation tests had incorrect grading. 5 of them did not graduate from high school because of inaccurate grading. Pearson is now giving them each $50,000 in scholarships because they did not graduate from high school because of their incorrect grading. So it's very important that we start asking these questions. If these are such high stakes tests and they're supposed to be telling us something, then we need to make sure that they're accurate. Oh, we love this. We found this at Craigslist in December, this past December, where these are the people that they're trying to grade these tests that our students just took in December. They're paying them $12 an hour, advertising on Craigslist, and any degree required. You have to have a bachelor's degree, but any field. So it could be a fine arts major correcting the writing test. These are tests that kids have to pass to graduate from high school. Extremely high stakes. The other thing that we discovered when I was as a trustee was that Texas has been told that because our students are doing so great on tax, we should all be very proud of that. We are closing the achievement gap. From this, you would look at this chart and you would think that we are really turning out the mathematicians, the readers, the writers. Look at these scores. They're going up. Everything is closing. So we were looking at that in Spring Branch. This is Texas data, but it's probably very similar in Louisville. But in Spring Branch, we were talking about this, and we thought this was really great. And about 3 years ago, we decided that we were going to be a college-focused district. So we started looking at the tests that colleges care about, and that was the SAT. And this is what we found in Spring Branch, and this is the state data. Same thing. Complete flat line in the SAT. Complete. No ethnic group is improving. There's no closing of the achievement gap. So we have been sold a bad bill of goods. The whole time we were thinking this is really meaning that our kids are on a great trajectory. But when you look at this test that actually looks at college readiness, our kids are not improving. And then how do they do once they get into college? This is the success of our students getting 2-year degrees and associate's degree, a 4-year degree, or a college-level certificate. So a master plumber, a master HVAC technician. Texas is at 21.9%. The nation is at 29%. That's not great numbers, either of them, but you can see how much significantly lower Texas is in our kids actually completing college. And the number gets even lower for our minority students, which has us very concerned, because in Spring Branch we are 59% Hispanic. The Texas is the majority minority state. We need these kids to be successful, but only 11.4% of our African American kids and 11.6% of our Hispanic kids are completing 2-year, 4-year, or technical degrees. This has us very troubled. I mentioned to you earlier about the English 1 writing and the percent failed. When they first gave this test last spring a year ago, 45% of the kids failed that test. That's a huge number for kids to be failing. Then they had some of them come back and retest in the summer. Some of them didn't know about it because they'd already left for summer vacation when they got the letter saying you failed the test. So the kids that they were able to capture and bring back, of those, 76% failed the second test. So we have a lot of concerns because we're looking at these students and they now are 10th graders and they have 5 more tests coming up that they have to try to pass. They're already far behind because they had these 5 tests to try to take and now they have to take 5 more. What are the chances of these kids catching up? And we've had a lot of superintendents tell us they're very concerned about dropout with these kids. So has it been worth it? A lot of money spent. The college and career ready indicators, the SAT, tests, flatline. Success and going into college and getting through it are below the national average, and we're concerned for forecast. So people say to us all the time, 5 minutes, we talk really fast. What are you for? Can't be against everything, what are you for? 5 things we're for. The first thing is, answer the question, what, I think you said, what are these tests for? Why are we getting these tests? We need to get these tests. We've been told it's to make sure our kids are college and career ready, and I think we can get behind that. We want to make sure that our kids can go get a job and can get into college. But if that's the fact, then we need to be giving them a test that the colleges care about. My freshman applied to 9 universities inside, in-state and out. None of them asked for his TAP scores, not one. All 9 of them asked for his SAT or his ACT. So we're going to be really driving, if the conversation is about are we getting our kids ready, then we need to start with the ACT and you back it up. The plan and explore our precursor tests that are made by ACT and tell you along the way if your kid's on the trajectory for college readiness. And then grades 3 through 7, remember the ITBS, we all took it. It helps us understand how our kids are comparing nationally. It helps us understand how they are doing on grade level. So we're saying we're not against tests. We want the right test that's going to answer the question that we as parents care about. Reducing the number of end-of-course exams. This is for you high school parents. Right now, you know, Texas is at 11 to 15 of them. We did a study. We thought everybody does that. No, 25 of the 50 states require no tests for graduation. None. 25 of 50. Of the other 25, 17 of them, 10 and 7, require 2 or 3. No more than that. And here we are in Texas, 11 to 15. Remove the standardized test scores. We think we're going to be very successful on that one. Remove the Algebra 2 and English 3 performance. I don't know if you can see that cartoon, but he's saying for a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree, and you have monkeys, and you have elephants, and so we're expecting everybody to be mathematicians and humanities experts to get into a 4-year college in Texas. You can't, by law, you cannot get into a 4-year college in Texas if you do not have that fixed. And then this crazy cumulative score. Everybody says, what? It's very complicated. So we think that we're going to get rid of that. Senator Patrick has said he doesn't even understand it. We just think that there's some, oh, you can't even see that. Personal quality is not measured by tests. It's not all about a test. And then, as Albert Einstein says, we believe in standardizing automobiles, not human beings. What have we done so far as TAMSA? A whole heck of a lot. Particularly met with legislators. That is a very big deal right now. And we need you all to do it too and help us with that and reaching out to legislators. If you're not comfortable meeting with them, then at least telling your story, like what you just did, and emailing them, calling them, and that's how you can help. And then here's our contact information. We need you to do 2 things. First of all, we need you to sign up on our website. And I always say, if you've got one of those smartphones, you can whip that out and sign up now. And we need you to do that for the one reason to do that is because we will send you e-blasts that tell you specifically when specific legislation is moving. We'll tell you who to contact, their phone numbers, their emails, all of that. We'll tell you what to say. So I know y'all are busy, and it's also a very tricky system. How does the bill move, committee, all that? Well, we're watching that for you. So we'll watch that for you. So if you sign up on our website, you will get instant e-blasts. Also sign up on Facebook. I'm not a big Facebooker. I don't check on Facebook all the time, but I get my emails sent to me, which is why the website we've found is a better way to get those e-blasts. But on Facebook, that's very public. And they can see how many people have signed up on this. And I'll give you one quick example. When that whole disaster happened on December 3rd, with the students not being able to take their tests, a lot of newspapers wrote about it. We posted it on our Facebook. Within a day or 2, Pearson posted an apology on our Facebook page. They're watching. And the legislators are watching, and they ask us all the time, well, how many members do you have? How many people do you have? And they're watching that number, and the comments and the likes, and it's exploding. So we have gotten great response, honestly, on this issue. I've been fighting education battles for a long time, and I was saying I always have somebody on the other side of me, even if it's something that I think is, you know, a no-brainer. I always have somebody fighting me. Not on this issue. This is an amazingly unified issue. On the left, on the right, people see this as a waste of money and a waste of time, narrowing our curriculum, really changing what's happening for our kids in these classrooms. It's not about inquiry anymore. It's just pass the test. What do I need to know to pass the test? So if you, that's kind of our spiel, and that's what we want to let you know. We're happy to answer any questions, and we'll stay after too. Any questions?